how do five perfectly healthy young guys just vanish on a totally routine drive home? It's one of those questions that has absolutely baffled investigators for decades now. What was supposed to be a simple night out for snacks and basketball somehow spiraled into an incomprehensible tragedy. And it left behind a trail of bizarre, totally contradictory clues that really seemed to defy all logic. To even begin to understand this mystery, we have to look at the terrain. We're talking about the Plumas National Forest in California. This is a rugged, high-elevation area up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's bitterly cold in the winter, super remote, and frankly completely alien to the five men we're talking about today. Yet somehow, this is exactly where their story takes its darkest turn, literally 70 miles away from where they were supposed to be. So welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging deep into the baffling details of a case that's often called the American Dyatlov Pass. It's the mystery of the Yuba County Five. Let's go ahead and dive right in, piece together this timeline, look at the evidence, and walk through the theories that still haunt this investigation today. Scene 1. The disappearing Gateway Gators. To untangle the physical evidence left on that mountain, we really need to understand who these guys were. Ranging in age from 24 to 32, they all lived in Yuba County and were affectionately known by their families as the Boys. Now, they each navigated mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions, but they lived highly routine-oriented, relatively independent lives. Their biggest shared bond? They all played for a basketball team called the Gateway Gators. In fact, the very next morning they were supposed to play in a highly anticipated Special Olympics tournament. They were so excited, their uniforms were already laid out on their beds. I want you to pay special attention to the profile of Gary Mathias here. Gary was an Army veteran who had developed schizophrenia while stationed in Germany. With his daily medication, his doctors actually considered him a stellar success case. Keep Gary in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer, because to this day, he is the only member of the five who has never been found. Okay, let's trace their known steps on February 24th, 1978. The guys drove 50 miles north to Chico to watch a college basketball game. Totally normal, right? After the game, just before 10 p.m., they stopped at Burr's Market to grab some snacks, sodas, chocolate milk, some candy, just gearing up for the straightforward 50-mile drive back home to Yuba City. But they never made it. Instead, they somehow ended up driving deep into the freezing, high-elevation dirt roads of the Plumas National Forest. Before we analyze the deeply perplexing crime scene they left behind, a quick reminder. For such mysteries, strange disappearances, and serial killer cases, subscribe to our channel. Scene 2. The abandoned Mercury Montego. So, several days after the families reported them missing, investigators finally catch a massive break. They find the vehicle. This is a 1969 Mercury Montego, and it was fiercely cherished by its owner, Jack Madruga. Police found it abandoned at an elevation of 4,400 feet, practically at the snowline, just stuck in a shallow drift on a remote mountain dirt road. Remember, this is 70 miles entirely in the wrong direction from their route home. None of the men liked the cold, and Madruga, he had never driven in the mountains. Now, here is where things get really weird. The striking contradiction between what police expected to find and what actually was there. You'd assume a car abandoned up there would be broken down, heavily stuck, or at least out of gas, right? Well, when police hotwired it, the engine started immediately. It had a quarter tank of gas, the car was unlocked with a window rolled down, which was incredibly uncharacteristic for Madruga. But the most baffling part? The undercarriage and the low-hanging muffler didn't have a single dent or mud scrape on them, despite navigating a treacherous pothole-filled dirt road. And that snowdrift it was stuck in? It was so shallow that 5 healthy young guys could have easily pushed the car right out. Scene 3. The bizarre forest trailer. The investigation ended up stalling out because of brutal winter storms. But fast forward to June 4th, when the snow finally melted. A group of motorcyclists exploring the trails made a gruesome discovery at a Forest Service trailer, about 19.4 miles further up the road from where the Montego was abandoned. Inside that trailer, they found the body of Ted Waher, and the scene presented just an agonizing paradox. Ted had lost half his body weight, dying of starvation and severe frostbite. Based on his beard growth, he had survived in that trailer for up to 3 months. Yet, just feet away in a storage shed, there was an unopened locker with a year's supply of dehydrated food. That's enough to feed all 5 men. Outside, there was a butane heating tank that hadn't been touched at all. Why on earth would a man starve and freeze to death when he's literally surrounded by sustenance and warmth? Scene 4. Unexplained artifacts and evidence. Let's look even closer at the inside of that trailer. We're going to treat this like a forensic evidence board because the specific items left behind paint a very confusing picture of who was actually in there and what they were doing. First off, Ted's shoes were completely missing, but Gary Mathias's tennis shoes were found inside. Investigators also found a partially melted candle, a nickel ring engraved with the name Ted, and a gold watch missing its crystal. And the families confirmed that watch didn't belong to any of the boys. But the most revealing clue? A series of empty sea ration cans. And this brilliantly ties back to our earlier point about the men's backgrounds. These cans were opened using a military P-38 can opener. This heavily implies that Gary Mathias or Jack Madruga, the two Army veterans who would know exactly how to use this tool, had made it to the trailer.
And that brings us to the number 36. This number is incredibly significant. Exactly 36 sea ration meals were eaten. Now, because Ted Ware's feet were severely gangrenous from frostbite, he absolutely could not have walked outside to the shed to get these meals himself. Plus, he was found tightly wrapped head to toe in 8 different sheets, so someone else had to be in that trailer, feeding him and caring for him.
Scene 5, the witness in the snow. While the physical evidence tells one story, we actually have exactly one witness who claims to have seen the men on the mountain the night they disappeared. But as you'll see, his testimony introduces even more chaos. That night, a man named Joseph Shans was parked just 150 feet from where the Montego was later found. He'd gotten stuck in the snow and, horribly, was suffering a mild heart attack in his running vehicle. Delirious and in pain, he claimed he saw headlights around 11:30 p.m. He reported seeing several men get out of a car, along with what looked like a woman holding a baby. When Shans called out for help, he said the group immediately stopped talking, turned off their lights, and just vanished into the dark. But how heavily can we actually rely on this account? Investigators faced a massive dilemma here. Shans was locally known as a fabricator, someone with a real history of changing his stories. Combine that with the fact that he was actively experiencing a major medical emergency, and you have a highly unreliable narrator. Yet, and this is a huge yet, police confirmed his car was stuck exactly where he claimed it was, right near the boys' abandoned Mercury.
Scene 6. Theories and unanswered questions.
So let's see how all these disparate clues build into the prevailing theories. Over the coming weeks, the remains of Madruga, Sterling, and Hewitt were found scattered miles away from the trailer, having succumbed to hypothermia in the snow. Gary Mathias has never been found. So how do investigators stitch this tragedy together? Well, they may have taken a wrong turn trying to visit Gary's friends in a nearby town called Forbestown. Once stuck, why leave a perfectly working car? They might have been fleeing some unknown threat. Once they were on foot, police believe they likely followed tracks left by a USFS Snowcat the previous day, which cut a nice path through 4 to 6 foot snowdrifts directly toward the trailer. Madruga, Sterling, and Hewitt likely died of hypothermia on that brutal 19-mile trek. Mathias and Weiher did reach the trailer, but due to their cognitive limitations, they might have feared getting arrested for burglary, which stopped them from turning on the gas or cracking open the main food locker. After Ted passed away, Mathias may have taken Ted's warmer shoes and ventured back out into the wilderness, never to be seen again. Yet, even with all these logical theories, we are left staring at the most glaring, chilling mystery of the whole case. If the Mercury Montego worked perfectly, had plenty of gas, and could have easily been pushed out of that shallow snow, what terrifying thing could have possibly forced 5 men to abandon it, walk away from safety, and march directly into the freezing, pitch-black wilderness to their deaths? It's an unsettling question that remains entirely unanswered. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning the evidence.